too.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the final stream for April. We've got more coming up in May. Here for CLX Foundry Live, I'm your host, DJ Blue PDX, and of course, joining me live from our Wichita studios is two people about to get on a plane, and that is our lead technical expert, Paul Steffens, and our master builder, Zach Hutchinson. Zach Killingsworth. Jesus. I had a stroke. I was so excited. So, also, I keep seeing his now shortened Goldilocks, and I'm really honestly loving the bob. I dig it.
Thank you.
I dig it. So, we've got a great show ahead for you today, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But first, I know everybody's like, oh my God, where can we find codes? Because we're giving away a PC this year. Month. Let's start with that. Listen, I had a lot of sugar. I shouldn't have had so much sugar. So, if you'd like to know more about the PC giveaway that we're doing, all you've got to do is type exclamation giveaway. And what's really fun is you can actually catch that right from our website, which is also awesome. Now, there's different places you can get different codes. There it is. Look at that beautiful, beautiful PC right now. Now, codes can be found in all sorts of different places. On Tuesdays, like today, you can find it on the green side, known as our Kick channel. On Thursdays, you can find it on the purple side, which is our Twitch channel. Although not this Thursday, because we're going to be in Vegas on Thursday. Also, next Tuesday, we're not going to be here either. So we'll see you on Twitch a week from Thursday. That's a lot of math in my head. You can find codes in our chats. You can also find codes on our social media. Check us out. It is YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads over at CLX Gaming. You can also possibly find some things when Ivory feels a little bit creative and frosty over in our Discord, discord.gg/CLX Gaming. The other place you can find codes is on my stream. And you know what? I'll even have one today, which is something we'll talk about later. But for everybody just to understand, we're not back until Thursday of next week because we got to get to Vegas, get back from Vegas, reset the studio, and then figure out who can actually talk and who caught the con crud. In the meantime, we've got a project for our friend Yuri in California. Paul, Zach, what are we shoving inside of this beautiful NV7?
All right, so Yuri has configured one of our RAWs off our websites. Like you mentioned, obviously we've got the NV7 in white here. So going through our parts list, starting out with the processor, we've got an Intel Core i9 14900KS. To cool that, we've got a CLX Quench 360 AIO. This is our new cooler in white, and it does have RGB in the cap. For our motherboard, we've got an MSI Z790 Edge TI Max Wi-Fi. And then for our memory, we've got a total of 128 gigs. So that's 4 sticks of G.Skill, 32 gigabyte DDR5, 6000 speed. It's the Trident Z5 in black with RGB. And then for our storage drive, we've got a 2 terabyte Samsung 990 Pro. For our video card, we've got the MSI RTX 4090 Supreme. This does have the 240 AIO built into the card. So if you saw last show, we used one there. We're using another one today, so you get another good look at this. This build also has a sound card. We've got a Creative Labs Sound Blaster AE5 for that, and we've got 8 of our Game DS M3 case fans. These are the black fans, so a little bit of contrast in this case. And then for our power supply, we've got the Silverstone 1000 watt fully modular 80 plus platinum.
Nice. Nice. All right, first of all, welcome in, everybody. If you're coming in from, hold on, that's not what I wanted to do. Control V and enter. Did something nice. Well, I think I did, but no, I didn't. So, Here's what we got. We've got some amazing content coming in. If you have questions about things that you hear or that you see or that you are a little confused by, all you gotta do is let us know. We are really down to answer questions, and that is one of our favorite things to do. So I do see we've got God Grind Barria or Barria TV. Good Grind Barria TV. Listen, I learned to read yesterday, so it's gonna be a slow start for me. And the question coming in first is, hey, wait a minute, are you guys hiring? And then if you guys have any Y70 cases with a screen, I'm not sure what that means.
We do not have any of those cases. Not at the moment, at least.
I'll tell you what we do have is we do have a fan from Bearded Heathen. Bearded Heathen bought a PC from us and loves it. Dude, that is awesome to hear. So glad. That's absolutely incredible. Taking a look over on the green side. We got Kenzu in the house. Damon of Sin. Omek. Hello. Welcome in. Conrad. Stormtrooper build. Hope it's not a gamer. Listen. I have my own suspicions based on some of the things we're going to be pumping in here, but it's going to be interesting. Also, hello to everybody on the purple side. We've also got Red Trex 300 is there, and of course our friends on the Facebook side of the world. And that is Derek Venable is back with the family of CLX Gaming PC owners. Listen, there is more PCs in that house than we have in our showroom, which is fantastic, and they're all ours. But first, let's take a look at what we're going to be doing for our motherboard. Now, this is on the higher end, and I really enjoy this one because now, as much as I am an Asus fan, and I've got tons of Asus stuff in my system, MSI is also fantastic at their builds. Their designs are truly brilliant. So, obviously, you can see the massive amount of heat shielding when it comes to the I/O shield, the North Bridge, the South Bridge, all of the covers for their M.2s, which are right there and then down below. So we've got multiple options. But first, let's take a look at some of the connectivity that we've got going on this board. So at the very top, we've obviously got our display port and our HDMI. Down below there, we've got 5 gigabit Type A's. There's a total of 4 right there, all the blues. The reds are actually going to be USB 10 gig Type A's. So that's 10 gigs of data transfer speed. That's wicked. Down there in the spot below the red is going to be another 2 USB 10 gig. And then right to the right of that is going to be our 20 gig USB-C. Now this means 10 gigs up, 10 gigs down. So if you've got a whole lot of peripherals to add on, you want to be doing a lot of throughput when it comes to data transfer, that is where you want to go, because if you have a powered USB-C hub, that is going to throw data back and forth like you've never seen. Obviously, we've got our Wi-Fi 6E connectors, and then down below there are SPDIF and our surround sound, which we're not really going to worry about that because we've got an incredible sound card coming in a little bit. So stick around, we'll talk about that in just a moment. Now, as for our processor, I don't know what you want to talk about first, but I'm going to definitely start with this as Zach gets the bracket put in there. Well, Zach, put it in there. This is an Intel Core i9-14900KS. That is Kilo Sierra. Now, I have a KF. That's Kilo Forward. Paul, I just forgot what F stands for, but that doesn't matter. What is Foxtrot? Thank you. It's Kilo Foxtrot versus Kilo Sierra, KF versus KS. So, Paul, what's the difference between a KF and a KS? In fact, why don't you run through all of the different nomenclatures for the letters after the processor?
Yeah, so just starting off with a K, that means it's unlocked, so you can overclock these. The F that you have means it doesn't have onboard video, which is typically fine in a gaming build because you're going to use the video on your video card. The S stands for a special edition, so they don't always do this with every generation, but it's becoming a little bit more common. It's a very high-end version of their highest-end processor that has really high speeds. And then the other names, there's a lot of them out there that you don't see that on. There's like a U and a T, all sorts of different ones, but K, KF, and KS are typically the common ones. So this one being a special edition though, it's a 24 core, 32 thread processor. You've got 8 performance cores with hyper-threading and then 16 efficiency cores. Has a base speed of 3.2, and since it's an S, it will boost up to 6.2, which is blazing fast.
That is absolutely wild. I love it. And while Zach is getting that put in here, I just want to give a shout out to everybody and anybody who might be in the Las Vegas area this coming weekend. If you are in Las Vegas, Nevada, this weekend, by the way, did you know there's a Las Vegas, New Mexico, which it seems really distracting and odd. But there's Las Vegas, Nevada. We are going to be there for the LVLUP Expo there at the Las Vegas Convention Center. We're going to be there all weekend. So if you are happening to go there or you want to go there and see us and meet us, awesome sauce. I know several of us are going to have codes to give out. And if you pay attention to, I don't know, maybe our social media or something, you'll know what the daily phrase is to get a code. I don't know. I haven't figured out how I'm going to do this yet. But I know several of us are going to be handing out codes if you find us. So please make your way there. Say hello. We got lots of fun things that are going to be happening. Now, speaking of fun things that are happening is something that I saw somebody mention in the comments. And that is, look, if you got a KS, that's going to require a lot of liquid cooling. And yeah, that's right. Now, to do this, we've got one of our brand new, and I absolutely love these because they look incredible. It is, wait, is this one of the new ones? Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the new white CLX Quench 360 closed loop liquid cooler. And that's a lot of words that some people may not really grasp. It's like split ends or, compartment syndrome. Paul, what is a 360 AIO?
So 360 AIO, so the first number there, 360, that refers to the size of the radiator here. We can fit 3 120 millimeter fans on one side, so that's why it's a 360. The AIO part, that stands for all-in-one. So that means this comes out of the box ready to use. It's already got coolant in it. You don't have to take off any tubes and fill it up or do any maintenance to it or anything like that. It will come with typically 4 sets of hardware for all the different chipsets or socket types on motherboards. So you just want to make sure you grab the right one. Like Zach has is a 1700 socket, so he's got his hardware going in right now and 3 more screws and it will be installed. So very easy to install. This is going to provide great cooling. This KS, with it running that high speeds, it is going to get pretty warm. So you definitely want to have at least a 360 for this type of processor.
And before anybody makes the joke, I'm going to go ahead and make it because I'll be honest, the first time I ever tore apart my Xbox 360, I'll be honest, I didn't find a 360 in there.
Oops.
I found questionable heat sinks. There we go. Now, the cool thing about the new ones is the old ones, we just had our name printed on the front. They were very basic. They were cool. These actually light up, which is the cable that you get to see. One of the cables that you get to see, Zach, now routing around it. Now, Zach, when you're routing these things around underneath the frames, what are some things to keep in mind when you're doing this if you are building this on your own?
So we don't want to pull these cables super tight. If we get them smudged in between our processor and our copper plate on the either heatsink or liquid cooler, then we might melt a cable. So just loosey-goosey underneath is perfect way to go to keep your cables hidden, but still work phenomenally well.
Speaking of keeping things hidden, you know what's really hard to keep hidden is like if you're playing Halo and all of a sudden you experience like you see somebody in your crosshairs and they got a sniper and you see the bloom happen and suddenly it blinds you for a hot second. And that is going to lead us right around to our very first code of the day. It is Bloom 7KT3, 7 Kilo Tango 3. That is going to be your first code. That is a Bloom code, which means you, I believe, have... I'm going to have to look at my code sheet because I forgot what it was. I think it's 200? No. 50! You get 50 extra entries to try and win that PC, which is going to be awesome. You're going to love it. I'm going to love it. We're all going to love it. And somebody's going to win a free PC. I'm super jazzed about it. Jumping back over to the... What? We got Darth Jr. What up, Little Vader? How's it going over there on the YouTube side? Derek mentions if you open an Xbox, you will only find disappointment. Listen, Linda. I actually saved me and my friends' 360s multiple times. The reason you would get the red ring of death is because they use really garbage heatsink. Oops, I hear myself. Heat sinks in the for the video. So what you needed to do was to pull it off, scrape it off, reapply, put it in, let it sit, reseat it, put it back on. It worked. It was fantastic. Now, it wasn't necessarily as fantastic as what we're about to put in this for our operating system. And that, my friends, is going to be... no, wait. We're going to start with the RAM. Let's start with that. Okay. So now, this is something that I'm going to say I'm a little jealous of, that I find it to be pretty amazing. What Zach's holding in his hand are 4 32 gig sticks of DDR5 6000 RAM. Now, I have 64 gigs of DDR5 6000. This is twice the amount in the same number of pieces of hardware. This is 128 gigs of dual channel DDR5 6000 RAM. Now, obviously, we're going to use all 4 slots on this. So, Paul, walk me through the benefits of not only having that kind of RAM, but also utilizing all 4 channels of your motherboard.
Yeah, so using all 4 slots is going to open up all the pathways for the RAM to communicate. So it's obviously going to be going as fast as it can. And when you have this high of a capacity, I mean, RAM's just not going to be an issue. So obviously 128 is definitely overkill for gaming. However, that can be utilized really well in a lot of editing softwares and stuff like that. So that could be the reason this customer picked this way.
Very possible. Also, I just realized I had the wrong Twitch chat up. Because I'm special and kind of dumb. Hello, everybody over here on the TikTok side. For some reason, I'm sorry, on the Twitch side, I was watching thinking, why is it I can't see chat? And then I realized I looked up into the little thing and was like, oh, well, that's my chat, which is dumb. Get it together, DJ. You're supposed to be a professional. All right, hello, everybody over there on Twitch. On the purple side, what's going on? We back up. We got Female Gamer 391 in the house. USMC Sergeant. Thank you for your service, sir. Your boy Wyatt. Hello, hello, hello. Fliskin is in the house. Scarecrow, I know you, fool. By the way, Kyle, are you going? I'm assuming Kyle's going. I hope Kyle's going. That's going to be really fun.
I'm going to sit on his lap on the way there.
There you go. Queso Goblin. Listen, I can't do cheese, but that sounds fun. G-Code's in the house. Again, if you guys have questions, please let us know in the chat. Sounded better today? Yes, I do sound better today. It's really great. Now, what we're going to look at right now, before he puts that little top on, is what I was going to originally talk about, and that is actually our operating system drive, and that is a 2 terabyte Samsung 990 Pro. I believe that's what I have in mind. And what's great is this heatsink. Now, Zach, why is this heatsink cool and fun?
So this has a little quick release on it, so we don't have to unscrew any screws. And same thing with the drive itself. It just has a little quick release lever, so no screws required.
So much awesome and so much wow. So let's see here. Jumping in, Fight Stick Guru says, hi, 980 Pro compared to regular SSDs. What's the difference? What's the performance difference? I know my experience, but I'll let Paul take this.
Yeah, so what you want to look at there, and I don't have them all memorized because there's so many, but you want to look at your read and write speeds. Now, when you're looking at an M.2 drive, most likely nowadays it's going to be an NVMe. So all of those are going to be blazing fast. So once you get up into these higher end ones like this 990 Pro or even a 980 Pro, that kind of, it's on the higher end of those NVMEs. So within that big family that are all blazing fast, you've obviously got different speeds and stuff like that. So if a really fast drive is super important for you, like you've got a good application for that, you can definitely go with one of those. But if you're just going to be gaming and you just want, a really fast drive but don't want to break the bank, you can just go with a standard NVMe drive and that'll definitely perform well for you.
There we go. Grimlock 1403. I'm not sure if this is my Grimlock, but I've had a friend named Grimlock ever since Xbox 360. If this is you, buddy, hi, what's up? Also, Grimlock was the leader of the Dinobots, if you ever watched the cartoons. This is nice build coming along. And I agree. Absolutely great. I'm digging it. Rurutu, hello. Good evening to you. Big Apple asks, why did she leave me, guys? I'm going to be honest. I'm going to guess it's because you ask questions like that. But, I don't know. Have you checked how much RAM you have? Maybe it's a RAM issue. Who knows? Mike says, I have a PC from them, and now there's a few issues, but overall it's amazing. That's great. Also, Mike, by the way, you have lifetime technical support and customer service, as well as labor. So, give us a call, man. Let's help us figure out what's going on. We would love to help. Immediately, Kenzu says, I had a Grimlock. So did I. I had the whole Dinobots collection. I had the Dinobots, the Constructobots, and I usually made them battle between each other. Let's be honest. When I grew up, like, it was G.I. Joe's. There was a cartoon show called Mask, which was super cool. I had the little gas station base thing, and then yeah, I also had all the GoBots. Speaking of things that go in different places, let's talk about what's going on top of this radiator right now. And these are 3 of our 8 Game DS Aeolus M2 fans. Now, yes, that is correct. Now, Paul, tell us about these fans.
Yes, these are the new Aeolus. These are the M3s. So these are a little bit more subtle than the M2s that you've seen us use. They do have some RGB elements, but it's more of a thin ring inside. So there's still an RGB ring, but if you're don't want all the rainbow puke going on in your builds, this is a good fan to choose from that still has RGB, which you can set to any color, but it's not super overwhelming.
Let's see here. Mikey mentions it doesn't quite do what I need to do all the time as far as streaming. Oh, Mike, do you mind if I ask a question here? Because as a professional content creator and somebody who's been doing full-time content creation for a decade, what is it that you're trying to do that you're having a few misses on? And while I talk about misses, let's talk about not missing your standoffs. Now, standoffs are a really interesting and necessary part of a build, especially on an NV7. Paul, why is that? And how do you make sure that you've got the right standoffs in the right place?
Yeah, so what standoffs do is they separate the motherboard from the actual frame of the chassis itself. So you can see the motherboard's obviously laying in our case, but it's actually sitting on top of those standoffs. So these screws that Zach's putting in right now, that is what's going to hold the motherboard to those standoffs. And the reason we have those there is we don't want the motherboard to be touching bare metal. That could cause a lot of shorting out and all sorts of different issues. So that's why you want to make sure you've got the standoffs in and in all the right locations.
Absolutely. Kevin Gantz asks, remember Exo Squad? Yes, I do remember Exo Squad from back in the day. As you can guess, I'm a little bit old. And of course, I've seen a bunch of Barnsdale over on the green side was like, I remember Mask. They were awesome. Yeah, Mask was cool. You had I just remember the Camaro with the doors that lifted up, and all of a sudden there was guns on the runners, and that thing just flew, and it was the coolest thing ever. And then I was so disappointed when I realized that Camaros didn't come with gull-wing doors. And
I have a question about this.
They didn't fly.
Mask. What season does Jim Carrey show up?
No. Mask was originally a cartoon show back in the 1980s. It was right around the time of, I would say, it was post GoBots, right at the beginning of Transformers, G.I. Joe, right around the cartoon side of that thing. And Mask was cool. It was about a whole bunch of special operatives who had modified their cars. They had a base under a mountain that you accessed through a gas station. The gas pumps turned into turrets if you tried to attack it. You put on a mask on and this hood thing, and it was really awesome. And I tried to build one as a child. I was like, I'm going to be a mask agent someday.
So this is like a
thinking
totally
that was a real thing.
IP than Jim
Oh
Carrey
God,
mask?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh no. Jim Carrey, the Carrey mask was a whole different story. Yep. Masked Crusaders working overtime, fighting crime. Hello, Panther! Hello! The only Camaro we know is Bumblebee. I mean, technically, yes, but Bumblebee to me was always a Volkswagen Beetle.
Sounds like Paw Patrol, but from the 80s.
Yeah.
Your brother had the semi-truck? Yeah, Kevin. Abso-freaking-lutely. Let me jump back up here to Mike. I think Mike was going to respond to his Hand of God. How do I get a free one? Well, you want to enter into our giveaway. Exclamation giveaway should have you there. Back in the days of He-Man? Yes. Well, and if we want to go down that 80s rock side, there was He-Man, there was She-Ra, there was...
Flash! Whoa!
No, there was what was Gem and the Holograms? It was Gem and the Holograms and their cover band that they mysteriously made themselves called The Misfits. It was the weirdest show ever. Herbie the Volkswagen Beetle, yes, Sir Robin Hood. I do remember that. Thundercats, there was Thundercats. There was God, Thundercats was legit. That was awesome. There was the Yamato. the space-faring
Wonder Twin
destroyer.
Towers. Form
Well, of course, we had all the
cleaner.
Justice League and all of that. Wow, you guys are taking me back right now. Taking me back to when I had hair and a thinner waistline. Voltron, yeah, Super Friends, Voltron. There was and Teen Force was there. We also had Team Force, yeah. Then there was
The original Get Smart.
there was the one with Wonder Twin Powers Activate. It was the it was those two and Iceman, and I think that was Super Friends.
Was this like on color TV?
There was five. I need you to shut the. You, sir. When you're my age, you'll understand what I'm talking about. God. Yeah, there was Super Friends because you had the twins, you had Iceman, you had Green Lantern, and of course this is all the stuff that got me into comic books, because once I watched the cartoons, I was like, I'm going to go get comic books. And so I would do all sorts of absurdly unnecessary chores around the house, looking at you, Mom, to help so that I could get comic books. Thundar Barbarian. Oh my God, Wolfen. I forgot about Thundar Barbarian. Wow. Captain, yeah, there was, Captain Caveman. James Allcutt's over here pulling out the OGs. Jeez, Captain Caveman. That's hilarious.
Was that the furry dude with
Space
the big
Ghost?
club?
Yes, Space Ghost was amazing.
Was that Captain Caveman?
Space Ghost was so hilarious. Mystery Science 3000. Mystery Science Theater was also a good one. Like, that was a great place and thing to watch stuff.
Over at the old folks, Zach.
Sir,
Visiting our old uncles.
I'm excited to report you for counting cards the minute we get to Vegas. I'm going to say this in the airport. He's counting cards. He just got off his plane. He's still counting.
Gotta stop.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, of course, once we got a little bit later into the world, it was less superheroes and more into the cartoons, because obviously we had Darkwing Duck. We had
Pinky and the Brain.
Pinky and the Brain, Scrooge McDuck, DuckTales. DuckTales was amazing. Right?
Dexter's
That was a go-to for me, like, after school.
Ed, Eddie, another good one.
Yep.
Johnny
Animaniacs.
Bravo.
Johnny Bravo. The Alvin Tick,
Yeah. Geez. Speed Racer. Yep. Reciprocals like code. What code? We've already had one code today, and that was a Bloom code way back up in the chat. I believe it was Bloom 7KT3. 7 Kilo Tango 3. Ed and Eddie, yeah. I think it's one of the biggest things that I loved about the cartoons back then, is they weren't all just straight up they just weren't straight up digitized. This was real animation. And
you're talking about a never-ending story.
What?
It's still going on.
The Never-Ending Story.
You've never
is a movie.
seen the never-ending story?
Yeah, the movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what,
I grew
that's
up on
what
that.
That's what you were just saying. Is it wasn't animated? That's what I'm getting at.
No.
It's like
I'm
the
talking about like
backdrops of those.
digital animation. It wasn't computer animated. It was hand drawn animation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is the backdrops of old movies used to be like paintings.
Oh, yeah, that
and
definitely,
stuff like
definitely.
That was the coolest era of movie.
Right. Mikey. Oh, Mikey just responded. Sorry, it's Mike. Or I keep calling you Mikey. My bad. Mike mentioned the issue you're having is with the CPU and motherboard's size and doesn't have Bluetooth or Wi-Fi capabilities. Well, if you're hardwired, that's easy enough to fix. If you are not hardwired, then a simple adapter can fix all of that through a PCI port. The other thing is to make sure that you're streaming. So if you're streaming, Mike, while you are also playing games, I don't know, are you gaming and streaming on the same system? Because if you are, one of the fastest ways to solve a lot of that throughput problem is bring down the resolution of your stream. You can get a super solid stream at 720 or even 864. I used to do it at 864. So long as it's directly divisible by 8, then your resolution is fine. Now, 864 is going to look a little bit more crisper than 720. It's not going to quite be 1080, but it's also going to have a lower throughput and a lower threshold when it comes to the amount of work that it's forcing your PC to do. Now, that being said, streaming doesn't take a whole lot, but also bringing your resolution and overall gaming profile per game down from ultra into like the highs or a mixed high and medium, it still looks crisp. It still looks good. I wouldn't do anything over 1080 because you've got to consider whatever, what your PC is capable of handling. And I would definitely mention always have your task manager up so you can watch physically what's happening with the processor at all times. And then, of course, it's also a part of the... Yeah, it's 720 is a lot better than 1080. Yeah, absolutely. The lag drops a lot. So the other thing is, what is your upload speed? Could you do me a favor and run yourself a speed test right now? I know I luckily have a fan who is the head of the engineering part for this district with Xfinity, and so he takes care of my internet on that level, and I get 40 up. So with 40 megs up, I can punch things through like wild. But if you have 12, you have to consider, like, as most of the baselines are 12 megs up, right? If you have 12 megs up, you got to consider and take a look at what is your game requiring and what kind of bandwidth are you using on your stream. And the easiest way to test that is to not have a game running, start your stream, and then monitor that throughput on your task manager. So you can go to the Ethernet and take a look at what it's sending versus what it's receiving, because your priority is going to be your stream. Obviously, you want the stream to be stable. Then take a look at what the secondary effect is when you start the game. And that's that. And you're going to have to, it's going to require you doing a little testing and playing and flirting with it. But, and trust me, I had to do this when I was doing my very first PC and game stream. Like, I did both in the same thing, and I had a i7 6700, 16 gigs of DDR3 RAM, and a 1060, maybe? Yeah. Which was nuts. Yeah, recommending fiber optic? Yes. So, Sorcerer Von Croy? Fiber optic comes to the end of our block. It doesn't come up our street. They'll do it for $30,000. And I said, there are so many things I would do for $30,000. That is not one of them. I'll just take what I get and call it a day. Yeah, $30,000 to tear up a street, run some fiber optic line. I'm like, you don't have to tear up the street, just run that along the curb. I don't care. It may look ghetto, but at least it works. Yeah. But there we go. Popeye was a great fan of Woodpecker. He couldn't replace Bugs Bunny. Yes, also true. Darth Jr. Damon mentions the cable is to dedicate to do that. Unfortunately, a car stops and the cable is destroyed. Yes, absolutely agree. So, yeah, we're just not really in the mood to destroy everything. I'll tell you what also we're not in the mood to destroy is what's about to be pulled out, and that is something super fun and super dirty. But before we do that, let's take a look at what we've got right here on this perspective. As you can see, the very bottom of this case is angled. Now, this is one of the things that I love about the NV7 because it creates what we call a vortex inside of the case. As you can see, Zach is working on the fans right now. When the fans go in, they're going to be at an angle. Now, some people are like, why the heck is that at an angle? Let me tell you why. So when you've got it at an angle, first of all, you're still feeding fresh air up into the intake fans of your graphics card. Should it have one? The other thing is, it's part of the heat dissipation is the reason why there's tempered glass. You can see, yes, awesome. The glass dissipates heat at an extraordinarily quick level. So if you have a fan pushing air up onto that glass is absorbing heat and immediately cooling down and pushing it out. So now you've got intakes coming in from the bottom, exhaust out the top and out the back, and it's got a dual exhaust on it. So you've got this circular motion that creates a vortex straight into the exhaust, which is amazing. Now, this isn't necessarily as important with this graphics card, and I only say this because this graphics card is supremely awesome. In fact, it's called a Supreme or a Supram. Paul, walk us through this new Supram liquid-cooled RTX 4090.
All right, so yeah, we've got our RTX 4090 here. Like I said, it's the MSI Supreme. We've got a 240 AIO built onto it. So let's get it out of the box and take a look. Pretty nice box presentation here. Ooh, fancy mouse pad. You want to be, you don't have to be like super careful when handling these, but you want to be somewhat mindful of where these hoses are at, so we don't want to put any kinks or anything like that into them. Get this all closed up. Probably still need the power connector.
I'm going to see if I can figure out how to spell the word infinitely. There we go, definitely. Hit up. There we go. Customer service. Alrighty. So, Mike, I see you mentioned that your speed is down to 2133, and it's only using 26 of the 64 gigs of RAM. And so, Mike, what I would definitely recommend, hit up our customer service and tech support. The tech support is, our tech support is bar none fantastic. They all would love, and honestly, they love challenges. So definitely hit up our customer support. You can get that number directly off of our website at clxgaming.com. Just give them a ring. It's free, and you have lifetime technical support and customer service. No holes barred. So definitely hit them up. I think they would be able to troubleshoot and figure out what's happening. And they'd be able to do it much better than some novice loudmouth like me. And let's be fair, people, I'm very loud. All right, now, while we're talking about loud, let's talk about getting this thing in here. One of the things that I love about this is the fact that it's liquid cooled. Now, Paul, this is not something we see super often. I remember seeing the first 3090s that came out with a liquid cooler. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they actually had liquid cooled like this AIO style until the 30 series.
They've been around for a while. It's just very uncommon. So yeah, we have seen them, I believe, in the 10 series and maybe even potentially in the 980s and stuff. But yeah, it's a pretty rare case to see one of these. They are obviously quite a bit more expensive, but they do provide excellent performance. So you can see we've obviously got our base card here with one fan to cool this, and then we have a 240 AIO with fans on it that will cool this as well. So most likely we're going to be pulling these fans off that are on the radiator and putting in our other case fans, but we'll see about that. I'm going to go ahead and get this plastic off and we can get a better look at this card. So card size.
And so we and of course, I believe the first time we saw this card was actually at PAX East. That would have been not this last one, but the one before. And we talked to them about this. It was a great interview. It was very informational. But I didn't really think about the efficiency of a liquid cooler on a graphics card. Now, that being said, I have, 13 fans in mine, and this 3090 barely ever reaches up into the upper 50s, ever. But yeah, that 4090 is wild. I absolutely dig it. It has full connectivity when it is compared to other 4090s. Paul, walk us through the ports on the back of this guy.
Yeah, so we've got, you can see on the back here, we've got 3 display ports and 1 HDMI, which is pretty standard for video cards nowadays. And what's nice with this card having an AIO attached to it is it's still relatively small. I mean, there's bigger air-cooled cards out there than this, but it does have some a decent weight to it, but nothing too crazy. And that's because they don't have to put so much metal in the heat pipes because we have a radiator attached to cool it.
Now, I have a question, Paul, because I just looked at mine because I went, 4090 versus 390. Jesus, calm down. So on the back of my 3090 OC, I've actually got 5 ports. I have 3 display ports and 2 different HDMI's.
Okay.
Does that mean I could actually potentially pull 5 monitors off of that card?
Yep, potentially so.
Wow. Well, if I ever pick up a 4090, a white 4090, people, I'm going to put that into my streaming PC so that I can actually hook all my monitors up to it.
There you go.
The Supremes? Yeah, Hashim is in the house. What up, dude? Welcome in. Darth Jr. is still talking about the cartoon shows. Let's be honest, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was the jam back then. The jam! I loved it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, man, I grew up on that. That was that, Scooby-Doo. Okay, and you can't look at late 70s, early 80s cartoons and not include Scooby-Doo. Like, that was always an amazing and a hilariously awesome show. Yoinks. Let's see here. How many pins are on a 40 series? John Abbott asks. Paul?
How many pins? What specifically are you referring to there?
Are you talking about power or... Droopy? I know. That's, yes. The Dune Buggy was, oh God. Dune Buggy was so good.
That is
So is it an 8-pin, 12-pin, 16-pin connector for this?
Yeah,
for power?
so this is the new high-end connector. This is the 12-pin connector. You can see it comes with the adapter. Some power supplies come with a cable for this, so you don't have to use the 8-pin connector. I'm not sure if this one does. I don't believe it does, so we will be using this most likely. We'll get that power supply out in just a little bit and verify.
And for those of you, I know we've got people asking about the build out. Let me go ahead and throw this into those chats in case you want to see what this build out looks like. This is the shared link. Jetsons, Flintstones. Oh God, yeah. I mean, that's Jetsons is who I named my one of our dogs after is Astro, because Astro was a Great Dane in Jetsons. Jeez, you're making me think way back. There was also the Littles. Who remembers the Littles?
Not me.
those rascals.
The Littles was so fun. Of course, they was right along like that area of the Secret of Nim back in that day, the Black Cauldron. Good Lord. I will say that I am old enough to remember seeing, I'm going to say something terrible. I remember seeing Song of the South in the theater. And my parents were mortified. Yep, and there was also, Ricky Tikki Tavi.
Okay.
Well, Ricky Tikki Tavi was great.
We have that guy. Let's turn off.
But yet also, I had to laugh. Fraggle Rock? Yes, Fraggle Rock was a big one.
There's that.
A PC guy's building is a monster. Yes, Hashim, it is a big guy. It's a big machine for a big boy. All right.
Firecracker. I probably did.
Yeah.
I got you.
Now, as a quick reminder, once again today, people, we've got to be in Vegas this next weekend. So that means that we are going to be, and we won't have a show on Thursday. We don't have an after show today. We won't have a show on Tuesday because we got to get the studio reset. So we'll be back in 9 days. That's so awkward. But yeah. Now, Firecracker, so Zach is kind of the laptop guru. Yes, what happens in Vegas usually requires azithromycin. No? Yes? Maybe? It's an antibiotic. A Z-Pack, yes. Now, I will say that there is a very real chance while we're there that one of us is going to end up somehow in a high roller suite. And we will definitely take video in the event that one of us is a face tattoo, the other one is confused as to why there's a dead body on the floor, and I'm in the bathtub with a tiger. If we end up in that level of awesomeness, trust me, that's a trip that we're going to have to film. Now, the bigger thing that I'm loving the fact that we're filming is this Supreme. So, Zach, this is one of the few cases that has a dual exhaust port. So are we going to utilize that for our radiator?
Yes.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. Do 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 do.
I'm digging the black and white. I think this looks real clean.
Yeah, with the card and everything, yeah, it'll accent really well.
Well, with the board, like the PCB being black and that white silver accent, that really makes it pop.
Your boy Blue. Yeah. All right, now we're popping that down. It's interesting. It's so weird seeing a 4090 that is so thin, because usually we've got such a thick housing on this thing because of all the airflow you've got to get through it. But this is just thin. You've got the water cool going on now, Paul. Because of the fact that it's so thin and the graphics card section is actually really light, what does that mean for the necessity of a anti-sag bracket?
So we probably don't necessarily need one. We might decide to put one in though, just because of how high end it is, just for extra security. But we'll see once we get this thing going and testing if we want to put one in. But if you're using one of these at home, I would say it's probably not necessary.
That's gonna look so good.
And John Abbott mentions, I need to get a new motherboard if I get a 40. Thank you. This is the biggest tower I've ever seen. Yeah, honestly, these towers are huge. Now, one of the cool things about this tower is this does qualify as what we call a 3/4 build. The motherboard doesn't actually sit on the back of the system, so you've got all of that really incredible opportunity for really detail-oriented cable management. The other thing is you've got this giant shroud up top, and then it's our power shroud. Now, Paul, why would you want your power supply that high in the case, and how does this benefit the cooling capabilities of your system?
Yes, there's a couple of reasons for that. I feel like number one is going to be just overall aesthetics. You won't see any of the cables coming out of the power supply. Now, with this being fully modular, we're already going to have the minimum amount of cables needed, so it's going to look good regardless, but you won't see where the cables terminate into the end of the power supply. Also, the power supply is going to get its own fresh air in from the back of the case and exhaust it out the rear. So all the heat that comes from the power supply, which isn't a lot, but it is some, won't be in the main portion of the case.
Yeah, and that's kind of a brilliant move. Like, and it's one of those things that I love about this one. This one also has the separated power supply shroud, but that one's on the bottom, which is interesting. Jumping over to the red side, we've got Dustin the Dragonfire. I learned my first program stuff on an IBM and then a Macintosh and then moved into the Windows. Yeah. So if you're of that era, Dustin, I imagine you know what I mean when I say X-Tree Gold. Yeah. That was my first, introduction to not an operating system, so to speak, but a control system, a controlling interface, which was great. Trigger Thriller Gamer, hello, welcome. Yes, John Abbott mentioned that the building a PC was easy, but the hardest thing is the wire management. Yeah, at least you have room for wires, and to be honest, no, Mike, that is a KS, Kilo Sierra. And Zach is amazing at all things cable management. We'll get a chance to look at that once he stands the system back up. I'm going to be very interested to see how these RGB fans look. This is definitely a Stormtrooper build. A lot of black and white, very monochromatic. I dig it.
I like my mashed potatoes, okay?
Expectations met asks a good question, Paul. Is MSI the only brand to get a water block AIO for their GPU?
Good question. So, no, they're not the only ones. A lot of the brands do it, usually with some sort of water theme in the name. I know Asus was doing Poseidon for a while. I think Gigabyte had some as well. So there are other brands that do it.
I know Asus did one at some point, because I remember we talked to them, and that was really cool. And I'm kind of an Asus nut. I love them. But yeah. All right, now obviously you can see the top here. Now, some of the cool things about this, let's talk about the angling on the bottom real fast while he's getting those fans on. And a lot of people have asked, why is it an angle like this? You can see there's a little bit more intake on the back end. You've got a filter, And B, you've got some added airflow. So, Paul, how does this help when it comes to not only the cleanliness of your system on the inside, but also the cooling capabilities of your system?
Yeah, so with it being at this angle, it kind of opens up the gap between the feet and the bottom of the case a little bit more. So you can see we've got obviously a larger section here and it tapers down. So this allows just those fans to suck in even more fresh air, bounce it around the case and keep everything cool.
Nice. All right, now on the back, you can see how we've already got cables going in there. One of the cool things about this case that I absolutely adore is how these NV series have something to really help with maintaining cable management. And that's going to be the Velcro straps. Paul, where are they at and why are they important?
Yeah, so these are the Velcro straps here. They're kind of all throughout the case, and we use these to just help tie down our tie-up. So if you didn't want to use any zip ties in your build, these are plenty to just route your cables and keep them secured there. We still like to use zip ties. It gives us a better, cleaner look. But then we also incorporate those Velcro straps to just keep everything in place.
Oh, wow. Cosworth mentioned something great. Yeah, the last Ark Royal aircraft carrier in the Navy, and that is the Queen's Navy, now the King's Navy, was pre-Windows and retired in 2013. Listen, when I was in the Navy, and that was in the mid-90s, trust me, PCs were not regularly used. There was a lot of analog switches and things that you could just pop in, pop out, very clicky. Now it's all touchscreen. So,
That looks a lot better.
all right.
Nice, yeah, that does.
That pop back in there real fast.
So what Zach was
Nice.
doing there is our tubes, we just didn't really like the way they looked with it in there. So we were able to rotate the card a little bit to just make those tubes line up and look a little bit cleaner.
Yeah. Never Dimmed or Never Dimed says, I was just reading about storage, NVMe versus SATA. They say NVMe is better, but SATA looks more expensive.
Yeah. So NVMe is definitely better. SATA shouldn't be more expensive. It might be the specific drive you were looking at. But SATA became really common with the hard disk drives near the end of, and when 2.5-inch got brought in as far as SSDs go. It was the transfer protocol, and M.2 drives used to use SATA as well, but NVMe is just a lot faster. So there might be some high-end, drives for like security or servers that are really expensive still that use SATA.
Military grade.
Yeah, military grade stuff.
Have a grenade go off next to it. All of your data is still stored.
You mean
all good.
like all those Toshiba Tough books? Man,
Yeah.
I had a Tough book for a while, and that thing, even the fact that it was back in late 90s, early 2000s, was still a rock star. It was slow as all hell, but it could take a beating and keep on reading. It was good.
Yeah, we had these tough books as a mechanic in the Air Force. I had many supervisors that would be really frustrated on the wing of the jet. I mean, I've seen them launch those things off the wing of a plane, and they still worked after that. So they were pretty robust.
Yeah. It was funny because you're always afraid to like shake a laptop back then because the disk drives, the way that they were designed, they just didn't. Like you could have it in a Humvee, didn't matter. You just and you just be typing. It's just fine. Doesn't do nothing. Yeah. All right. Now, one thing that's definitely going to do something, and let's talk about that real fast, is our power supply. Now, every system's got to be able to have power in there. And this is a favorite of mine. This is a 1,000-watt Silverstone Strider. Now, there are different levels of power supplies, which I'm going to have Paul explain in a minute, because this is not like our normal that we see, which is 80 plus gold or 80 plus bronze. This is actually an 80 plus platinum. Now, Paul, what does that mean, and why is that important, especially when dealing with such high-end hardware as we have in this system?
Yeah, so that 80 plus rating is going to refer to the efficiency rating of the power supply. So what that is how much power is coming out of your wall versus what your computer is using. So really for gaming, and even in a build like this, 80 plus bronze and up is just fine. But once you get into these higher end power supplies, that rating just naturally goes up. So we typically see the platinums and the titaniums used in like mining rigs where someone's mining crypto and they need their power to be as efficient as possible. However, if you're in the high end power supplies, it's definitely not bad to have. It'll save you a little bit of money on your electric bill, which will add up over time. But on top of that, this is a fully modular power supply. So you can see this is the box right here. No cables are pre-soldered in. I'm pulling the plugs out of the ports on this to clear these up. And then our cables are all in this box right here. So once I get these out, I'll go ahead and get our cables out. And then we can sort those and grab the ones that we need, and the rest will go in the accessory bag.
Nice. Here we go. Now, this is a modular supply, a modular power supply, but there are other types of power supplies you can get. So what are the benefits of having a modular versus what are the other types, and what are the other two types of power supplies?
So we always recommend going with modular if you can, because they're just a lot easier to work with. You don't have any extra cables in your build that you have to tie up or anything like that. So you just grab the ones that you need, use them, then you've got the extras for if you need them later. The other type of power supplies are going to be non-modular and semi-modular. So a semi-modular is going to be kind of a mix between the two, where you'll have probably a 24-pin power connector, a CPU, and a video cable that comes pre-soldered into your power supply, and then there's the other ports for all the extra cables that you need. And then non-modular is just where all the cables are pre-soldered in, you plug in what you need, and you bundle up the rest.
Nice. Which makes it a lot easier. Yeah, it's a very serious GPU. Absolutely. John Abbott did ask, where do you get your PC parts, and do you have a code for discounts that we could use? I don't believe we have a code, but Paul, you know where we get our parts from. I believe it's just direct, correct?
Yeah, so we've got a few different suppliers that we get them from. That world is always kind of shifting game of who's got stock, and depending on what's going on in the market. But we've got a few distribution channels that we use.
Absolutely. All right. Now, right now, what you can see on the back of this system is the magic door that we talked about. This is something that Zach absolutely loves because it's something we haven't really ever seen on another build like this. And you can see those pegs when he flops that door open. So, Zach, why are those pegs important, those two little pegs, and how do they help with cable management from a production standpoint?
Yes, so when we have our power supply sitting up here, we can have our CPU cables going from our processor, which this is 8x8, so 2 8s, and we can house all of our extra cable behind that little door along with our 24-pin, and if we needed to, we can have some storage on some SSDs here as well. But just a nice little spot to hide all of our excess cable.
Cage Proto mentions, I would build my PC so different knowing everything that I know now. Dude, right? For real. I know I responded in chat, but I don't know if everybody on the platform saw it. So even as the host, the amount of things that I have learned watching these guys in the prime of their craft, it's spectacular, especially getting to watch it happen in real time when we were at DreamHack Dallas over a year ago. Was nuts. It was really cool to watch it happen because I am amazingly terrible at cable management.
Cable management's definitely a skill. You got to do it a lot to get good at it.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's kind of nuts. All right, getting that all locked in there. Now, the great thing about this power supply is that it does, in that position under that shroud, it's going to give Zach a lot of extra space and room to work with the necessary cables required. Now, obviously, you've got to have your motherboard cables and all the rest of the power cables. But then you need to consider the power for the GPU and the power for our sound card. We haven't put the sound card in yet, have we?
Yeah, sound card is in, yep.
It is. I missed that. Yeah, apparently, I was talking.
We typically throw the sound card in at the beginning because we like to use the HD audio cable that's from the case for your case audio. You can plug that into the sound card. So that's why we typically throw that in right at the beginning.
So let me go ahead and cover a little bit about this. This is the Creative Labs. It is a Creative Labs Sound Blaster X AE5. This is a really great. It's got some LED options on it. But it's 7.1 surround sound, including multiple different outs and ins, and everything is addressable. So you can readdress all of those different ports on it, which is going to be really handy. Now, I'm going to just jump out on a limb here and say that Yuri is probably going to be using this for audio production or cinematics, because there's no other reason why you'd have 128 gigs unless you're really pumping things through Premiere, or if you're pumping things through any Blackmagic software or DaVinci Resolve, if you're using Pro Tools or Audition or anything from the Adobe Cloud, including After Effects. You need that kind of memory to ensure that you've got a robust enough environment to manage to not have anything freeze up while you're rendering. And that rendering is definitely a hard part. I know that I do know that Jason in production's like nodding his head. I'm sure it takes a lot of memory to pull that through and get it together. So I'm kind of, that's what I'm thinking this person's going to use this for. Just guessing.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty safe bet.
Also, you know what's pretty sick? Flowers. You know what flowers do in the spring? They bloom. We got another code. It's Bloom VCGA. That is Victor Charlie Golf Alpha VCGA. Violently commanding gangster assault. Here we go. So let's take a look once again at the giveaway. By the way, people, this is what you're going to be winning, and it's an amazing system. You've got that white 4090 in there. You've got a fully vented system, and it's that beautiful Sakura build with the design on the outside. It's gorgeous, and of course, this is all brought to us by CLX and our partners AData, S-Tech, Intel, XPG, and of course, the friends over at Windows 11. Is it maybe it's a 40? Honestly, I might be wrong on the 4090. I need to pull it up and look at it. Type exclamation giveaway if you want to find out more. There we go. Boom, boom.
Just work back.
It's a 4060? Okay, there we go. Even that, like, still, bro. That's a wild card because you get the DLSS 3 with that, which is grand. I know there's been some mods that have come out for the 30 series to try and update the DLSS, but, you know. There we go, Source. Yes, Sorcerer Von Croy, thank you. It's an i5-14600 KF, and it has that's right, it's the RTX 4060 8 gig, and it is in white, so it all matches on the inside. It looks gorgeous. It looks gorgeous, and I dig it. I dig it. All right, getting that back finally put back on. There we go. I love the clicking of the screwdriver. I don't know why ratchet screwdrivers just are always so satisfying to hear. You know?
It is a satisfying sound for sure.
Okay. Then now I want to do these.
I've been paying attention to. I'm going to build me a system to get off of the laptop and monitor to use. Yeah, dude, have to do that. Ed says thank you over there to our wonderful Ivory for dropping that code.
Yeah, appreciate you, Cage Proto.
Yeah.
And UG code.
Jayama, thank you for joining over on the TikTok side. Hello.
These codes.
There we go. That all plugged in there.
Let's plug these four in. Oh my gosh.
We got a good question from Bold and Beautiful on the Twitch side.
Yes, we do. It says, hi guys, how do I make sure that I am using my full RAM speed? I've seen mixed videos on if I am supposed to disable XMP or choose profile 1. Should it be disabled?
Yeah, so first, if you can tell us what RAM speed you have, that would be pretty helpful. However, I'm going to assume you have a RAM speed that's past like 2666 for DDR4. or 4800 for DDR5. So yes, you do want to get into the BIOS of the machine. You can just do that by most likely spamming the delete key on boot up, depending on which motherboard you have. It might be a different key. And if you just turn on XMP, you do want to disable that. Typically it's going to say like XMP profile 1. You do want to enable that. It should say, XMP profile 1, and then maybe in parentheses, 3200 or DDR4 3200, depending on what memory you have. And yeah, that's how you can make sure you're using the right speed for your memory, getting all the speed that you paid for.
I don't think I'm pretty sure mine just goes in on, but shouldn't on default, is XMP on or is XMP not on default?
Typically it's off. Yeah, it will depend on your motherboard, but like on yours, DJ, I'm sure it was off when we did it. But we turned it on. Now we did reload your system when you got it, but that shouldn't affect your BIOS and your motherboard. That's kind of a separate thing. So it should still all be set.
And of course, I can check that speed simply by pulling up Task Manager and going down over to the performance side and then taking a look directly at the RAM section, which does verify that it is running at 6,000 megahertz. So
yeah, you got 3600.
And the irony is,
that's exactly what you need to do there. Yep, XMP. And you might even see, this isn't super common, but you might even see XMP 3200 and then XMP 3600. Since your RAM is 3600, it can run at the lower speed. I don't know why you'd ever want to, but just make sure you've got the right XMP. If it does give you a couple options, just pick the 3600 one.
Okay, so that's plugged in.
Yep. Yeah, well, it's a pretty common thing, honestly. You're not crazy. You're definitely not the only one.
Yes. While we're getting these cables in, I unfortunately need to, because I'm about to just lose it in my chair. I need to run to the restroom. So I'm going to be right back in just a second. Paul, tell everybody lots of stuff.
Yeah, I'll tell you guys everything about DJ. He doesn't want you to know. No, I'm just kidding. So Cage Proto, to get DDR5, what parts are potentially going to need upgraded? So if you don't have a DDR5 system, what you're going to need to upgrade is motherboard there first to get you the DDR5 slots. And typically with a motherboard upgrade, you're going to have to upgrade your processor as well. So you're looking at motherboard, processor. Most likely all your other components should come together fine. Your M.2s, your hard drives, your video cards. If you have an AIO, you might make sure that you've got the right bracket still to match that motherboard socket if your socket changed from motherboard. If you don't have the right bracket, like let's say you had like an AM4 system and you're going up to DDR5 on like an Intel system or vice versa, if you just reach out to your AIO manufacturer, most likely they're going to just send you the right bracket if that's all you need.
Oh dear. Okay. Let's do the back.
All right, so this whole thing is coming together really well. Zach's got the power supply in, all of our power supply cables, and now we're just going to be running those cables and then finishing up cleaning it up. So this is going to be a little bit weird because we are using this adapter for our 4 8-pins. So Zach right now, you can see him poking those cables through the white grommets there. Those are each an 8-pin, a 6+2 power connector for a video card that are going to go into this, which will plug into the video card next. So kind of a fat grip of cables to push through there. Yeah, me and Zach were talking before we started, and we're 100% sure on these black fans, but seeing them in here, it does look really good with all the other black accents. The card, the RAM, like you said, the PCB and everything. So.
Okay, let's try that crazy thing now.
Yeah. It's now the fun part of plugging in the adapters. So, like I mentioned, these are a 6+2, so what you can see Zach working with there, you'll see a section of 6 pins and then a little section of 2 next to it. The 2's kind of flimsy since there's only 2, but they do have little tabs on the power connectors if you're working on these to kind of clip them together. It's not like a 100% solid clip, but it'll hold them in place in your hand. Yeah, Tom, this is a beast of a machine for sure. Expectation, did the customer say what they're going to use this for since they went all out? Not that I know of. Now, they could have talked to support and told them there, but yeah, not 100% sure what they'll use this for, although I'm sure, like we mentioned before, it's going to be used in some sort of production and gaming environment. Cage Pro, you've got the CLX360 AIO. Yeah, it's a really solid AIO. This new version is really cool as well. We do have the lighted versions, which this one is, and the non-lighted versions. Welcome back, DJ.
Sorry, it took me one of those moments. You know, where it's like,
when nature calls, you gotta go.
Sometimes you just gotta say, guess what? I'm getting older. There you go. Yeah, and I do absolutely love the Velcro ties on these. It's so great.
Okay. So we were just getting kind of our cables managed. We've got our video card cables through and plugged into our adapter, so our video card's plugged in. Pretty much everything is plugged in right now, minus the fans going to the controller box. And then it'll be cleaning up the cables, and we'll be on our way.
Jack Pearson, I don't know if you already got to this, asked a good question, says, any word on the Microsoft specs for the new AI PCs?
I do not have any word on that, but that's not something that I follow regularly. So there might be something out there, but I'm not familiar with it.
I definitely have some information.
Okay, let's plug that in first because that is.
So, from what I understand, the requirement for the new AI PCs is basically it's composed of a liquid metal data center that is housed in a supercooling fluid that through movement actually consistently moves it. You can find out more about this by watching Terminator 2. Actually, you just watch all of Terminators and realize why we definitely don't need AI PCs. Ever! Sorry.
I used ChatGPT for the first time this week. I held out for a long time, but I had it make an email sound better, and it worked amazing. Like, this is working so good, they're going to think it's not me.
Skynet.
Yeah.
Yep. Hashtag Skynet. I'm still freaked out. One of my friends who's also a voice actor and has done a couple roles in games, she had her voice AI'd by somebody who had, and they started doing different dubs of things that she had never said in life. And she's furious because, you know, that's definitely a problem.
Yeah, that's like
I would be thoroughly furious if somebody did that with me without my permission, without my knowledge, without my approval, you know, without residuals. Like, come on. It's kind of crazy. Not as crazy as what Zach goes through when he's hooking up fans, because he does so in such an organized fashion, you can't screw it up. So, Zach, let's walk through the process. How do you connect your fans?
Yes, so I like to go in a circuit around the build. So on this one, because we have like dual exhausts, this is fan 1, fan 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So only the one fan hub today, which makes it very easy to plug everything in and have it all nice plugged in that little circuit.
Okay. So, by the way, just according to the release from that was quoted in Forbes, and that's where this is coming from, the recent reports have Microsoft setting a minimum requirement for its AI PCs as having at least 16 gigs of DRAM and a neural processing unit, or an NPU, with 40 tops, and that's 40 trillion operations per second.
Hey, I got one of those neural processing units.
I got one of them too.
It's called ADHD, bud.
It's in my brain hole.
I don't know if we talked about it on the show. Did you see, like, they put the Neuralink chip in this guy's head?
Yeah.
And he was playing chess with his mind.
Yep.
Like, they had it hooked up on the game, and he was moving his pieces by thinking about it. Crazy.
Yeah, I think that's super cool.
So interesting.
So, and it's interesting because right now there's no PC processor that is shipping today that meets the 40 tops requirement. Qualcomm's Snapdragon X Elite platform, which is expected to ship, I want to say, in the second half of 2024, is supposed to meet the performance requirements at around 45 tops. And again, that's trillions of operations per second. And support for at least 16 gigs of DRAM. Now, There was mention of Intel's Meteor Lake platform, but it isn't. It doesn't seem to be as robust as the Snapdragon X Elite. So, and of course, I'm getting all of this directly from the Forbes article. If you want to find out more, just look up Forbes and go to their. Will you want an AI PC in 2024? I'm going to be honest. No. Do you know why? Because I watched all of the Terminator films and I know what happens. Damn it.
It's coming.
I don't understand how people are still not terrified of this.
We've accepted our fate.
Here we go. Oh God, the X Elite is going to be anybody who's not been following the Snapdragon X Elite platform, definitely do a little research. It is wild what they're able to do. And again, let's take it over to the AMD side. And Paul, I'm pretty sure will agree with me on this. When you look at what they did with the X3Ds, all those three, when we first had our very first X3D processor on this show, Paul and I did an in-depth dive of, all right, what do we need to talk about? How do we talk about this? How do we make sure that we understand what the heck we're talking about? And there was a great video that we watched that was brilliantly informative. But both of us were just wide-eyed in that sense of, no kidding. Didn't even know that was a thing, never thought about it that way.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's it's obviously the first application of it is awesome, but just what it marks for the future and what they're going to be able to do is just really, it's going to be hard to imagine what we're going to see come out of it.
I have to laugh. So clever Raven over here on the green side says the problem is not AI PCs. The problem is AI PCs with legs. You have a point.
True.
You have a point, sir.
It's a robot with a flamethrower. I have not seen that.
iRobot basically has that in it. But notice how they have iRobot, not a you robot. Me robot or they robot.
You notice how
Also,
all of them are
obnoxious.
built beforehand. Who built them? Why don't we just not build them?
Thank you, bingo. All this, everybody's like, oh my God, AI. And all I can think of is, where were you in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s?
Yeah.
We made films about this. There was a reason why we made films about this.
Jeff
so it didn't
Goldblum
happen.
told us.
Yes. Thank you. Like Jurassic Park level. Independence Day. Both of those films. He quoted some things that were very important and relevant.
AI finds a way.
Always.
Okay, that might have been a mistake on my thinking for it reaching. And now... Careful.
That sneaky little SATA cable.
Yeah. Okay. I really want that to be this way.
Interesting. Again, I get so drawn into watching Zach put these cable management into play. I don't know how to do it. One thing we definitely do want to talk about is you don't want an AI that refers to itself in third person. Also true. Right. And also, Damon Ascent brings up another good point. Did nobody watch The Matrix? Hello? Come on.
Unplug me.
It's not the spoon that bends. The truth is there is no spoon.
True.
That was a mind bend. Still to this day, and I know people will probably disagree with me, but still to this day, that trilogy holds up wholeheartedly.
Are you excited to go see The Mummy when it comes back out in theaters this year?
With him, yes. With
Brendan?
Yeah, Brendan Fraser. I'm so excited, dude. I will support him in any film adventure that he goes to. He's such an incredible human being, and he went through such an absolutely horrific scenario. When his career had to take a break just because everything went sideways. But yeah, no, always like he is George of the Jungle. He chases mummies, and he was great in all those films. And he's great being comedic. Okay. I love it. But
oh man, I'm forgetting so many things.
John Abbott, the only thing that could come out of positively, that could possibly come out positively for Elon putting AI in humans now is us getting Spartans. Halo Spartans.
Oh, don't do that to me.
Encino Man. Oh my God, Zorowski. I can't believe I forgot Encino Man.
Oh, that was really good one.
Is that like Pauly Shore?
That was so good. Yeah. He and Pauly Shore and that was hilarious.
At high school. Yeah. Deus Ex. There you go.
Yeah.
That's a body modify video game.
Buddy. Hey, buddy.
Okay, and lastly, this.
With you in the first Matrix, not so much the trilogy. Elisa, baby, I thought the trilogy was a beautiful allegory to the, I would say, the circular consistency when it comes to the evolution, expansion, and destruction of any system that goes I would say that goes unmonitored. You have to be able to have a consistency when it comes to any type of containment or directive. And that is what was lacking in there. One of the things that I did also love, given the fact that that movie, that trilogy changed the way films were made. The Wachowskis did an insanely good job when it came to not just filmography, but cinematography, the way that they were able to pause and did those like all those shots. And I now, while some people might disagree with me, I loved the Resurrection or whatever it was called, the brand new one that came out. It was such a great nod to all of what came before it while changing the script and the narrative to something different. And I thought it was brilliant the way that they did it from that emotional psychology of how it all functions and how it all works. Yeah. All right, we got those lines in there. Now, what Zach just put in, by the way, Zach just put in two different, they're basically cable hiders, but they're system modifiers. And what's grand is that there's LED bars in there that are going to make this thing look absolutely spectacular. Now, while I do know that we're pretty much in there, what I want to do real fast is take you all on a quick journey to something that I think is going to benefit everyone in this chat, and that is going to be how you can get your hands on a CLX PC just like this. Let's head over to clxgaming.com. At CLX Gaming, we try and make this as easy as possible for you to get the PC of your dreams and to make sure that it works the way you want it, the way you need it, and it's going to look great for your brand. Now, you get to choose anything from huge cases to tiny cases. We've got Raws, Horuses, sets, and more. It's an awesome opportunity. We carry everything from AMD to Intel, Radeon to NVIDIA. We've got it all. You get to choose your design. You want DDR5? Great. We got it. You want DDR4? Great. We've got it. Now, one thing I will say is that a lot of people, their biggest concern is, what if I get something that's not compatible and I get something that's just not going to work with itself? We don't let that happen. We've got a foolproof system in place to ensure that you are putting everything together the right way. And here's how it works. And I always use this as a baseline because it's really easy to do. So say you want DDR5 6000 RAM. Yeah, that's the bad boy right there. But you've chosen a really pretty DDR4 motherboard. Well, it's cute, but it's not going to work with your DDR5 RAM. So the system's going to say you have two options. You can either choose one of these DDR5 motherboards, or if you would like to keep the DDR4 motherboard, you're going to have to choose one of these DDR4 RAMs. Once you've selected compatible components, that little yellow button that you saw change turns back to green and you're ready to go. We have given you all sorts of autonomy when it comes to how you want your system built. Whether you want to have your GPU overclocked, your CPU overclocked, or both. We can upgrade your thermal paste. You can get a closed loop liquids cooler. You can get an open looped cooler, which is even greater, a little more maintenance, but it's awesome and it's super efficient. We've even got streaming gear. We've got capture cards. We've got Beacon Mix Creates, Beacon mics. We've got t-shirts like the one I'm wearing. Hello. Routers, chairs, mice, controllers, headsets, you name it, we got it, and it's all right here. Now, I know that sounds a little overwhelming. So don't worry, if you're not really ready to build your own PC because you don't feel comfortable or knowledgeable enough, we've got a place called Ready to Ship on our menu. Now, the Ready to Ship is amazing because we've got multiple different levels, from ultra high performance all the way down to entry level. You get to choose the type and style of build that you want. If you want to adjust it a little bit, add a little more RAM, add a little different hard drive, you can also do that in the process, but it gives you a good baseline to understand, all right, this is a high performance versus an ultra high performance. Look at that price range difference, see what's in your budget, see what's available. And see whether or not you want to do it on payments, because we also have that as an option. So for all of your future PC gaming needs, all you've got to do is head over to One Stop Shopping Centers, and that is clxgaming.com. We'll see you soon. All righty. Now, one of the cool things that I love about this case is the first thing that Paul and I noticed at PAX East last year, and that is what's on the back. Now, notice that door that's open, right? This is a PC the case design that you could pretty much put anywhere in your office, your home, your studio, because look what it does. On the back end, here we go. That is what is actually the output. When you open the door back up, you've obviously got your dual vents right there where we've got that housing for our dual, our 240 AIO that cools the graphics card. But everything that comes down from there in the cords all goes through these little combs, and there's all these little spots down below, so you can just anchor all of your cables cleanly, nicely, and consistently. There you go. So it's a gorgeous case, but the thing that's going to make it super pretty, aside from the fact that it weighs as much as a fat toddler,
that's a big boy.
That's a big boy.
This one gets a sticker.
Let's go ahead.
Heavy.
Let's plug her in now. The upside about these cases is you could actually get 4 more fans in there if you wanted right along the back, and that's a great option for intake. So when you're doing this, thinking about it, you can always run that through. I also know that Ivory said everybody shut up and stop listening to DJ because he gave out another code. Look up there in the considered, yes, there we go. More codes, more life. There we go. All right, so are we ready to check and see what this thing looks like?
Oh yeah.
Here we go. Now, again, things that I love. The lighting kits on this are amazing. Also, I'm digging the new ARGBs. Those are great. You've also got that beautiful LED line that pops up and around the motherboard that comes in underneath that power shroud. The whole system looks great. Let's go ahead and go over once again what Yuri is getting in their amazing system that's going to be sent to California once we get past testing. So this includes it is an NV7 raw tower with an Intel Core i9-14900KS, a special edition processor. It is mounted on an MSI MPG C790 Edge Ti Max Wi-Fi motherboard with 128 gigs of DDR5, 6000 RAM, and of course that beautiful liquid-cooled RTX 4090 Supreme from our friends at MSI. The operating system is going to be on a 2 terabyte Samsung 990 Pro. Now, the fun part is the CPU is cooled by our brand new CLX Quench 360 closed liquid cooler in white. We've also got 8 different Game DSA RGB fans and our 1000-watt Silverstone Strider 80+ platinum power supply, in addition to that Creative Sound Blaster X AE5. Now, I mentioned something that we hadn't covered yet, Paul, and that is where it's going to go now. So before we ship this out, what are we going to do with this system?
Yeah, so now that the system's built and powered on, it's going to go to our testing and integration department. So the first thing we do there is get into the BIOS of the machine. We were talking about RAM speed a little bit earlier in the show. That's where we set that. So we'll set our RAM speed, make sure all of our storage devices are showing up, maybe mess around with a couple other settings depending on the configuration. And then once those settings have been done, we load the system. So that'll be the operating system. If you picked any games on our website, that's where we would load those. If you didn't pick any games on our website, you just get the fresh operating system. We don't install any bloatware on the machines. You're not going to get a whole bunch of different softwares that you don't want to have. Just a fresh, clean install of the operating system. Then after that, we actually stress test the system for 12 hours. And so we put the system through a burn-in. We have a few different benchmarking softwares we use. But we do that for 12 hours because sometimes any component on this, it could be anything, will allow the system to turn on, get video, but once you start gaming, it can cause it to fail. And so that allows us to, if that does happen, fix it here and make sure you get a stable machine at home.
That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. I'm loving that the middle lighting effect around that middle fan is fantastic. All right, so this show happens every Tuesday and Thursday starting at 11 a.m. Pacific 2 Eastern, with the exception of this coming Thursday and the following Tuesday, because we're going to be in none other than Las Vegas, Nevada, where we're going to try and do everything aside from get married. I'm going to do everything I can to not get married.
That's next month.
There we go. That exactly. Now, with that being said, to find out all the latest and greatest on what's going on with CLX Gaming and places you can find codes, all you've got to do is check out our social media. That is YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at CLX Gaming. You can also join our Discord and see if you can find a code over there. That is discord.gg/CLX Gaming, and you can get in touch with a bunch of like-minded PC enthusiasts and gamers. It's a lot of fun. We've actually made a lot of friends there. You can also find them on my streams, and I'll be streaming later on. I'll be streaming right after this stream with some Cold War zombies, and I'll give you a code there. So, with that being said, again, we are off Thursday. We will be back the following Thursday. We'll be in Vegas this weekend. We're super excited. Stay tuned for all of our stuff, and who knows, if you see us in Vegas, we'll probably have a code for you. In the meantime, on behalf of Jason and Kyle in production, Paul and Zach, I'm DJ Blue PDX. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on CLX Foundry Live.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.